let's chime in to go Fox League FaceTime with their coach, Ricky Stuart. Ricky, good morning to you. Welcome to Fox League Live. An unusual morning, a very troubling morning in many ways. Rick, what are we going to do?
Yes, morning, Bonnie. It's a very disappointing news, obviously. It's a little bit different waking up today, but it's as Peter Volandy said yesterday, it's all about the health of the players, and that's the highest priority at the moment, and the others in the community. So, look, I support the leaders in regards to their decision, and we've just got to move forward and just wait and hope.
Stick, we just heard from Josh in terms of what's going to unfold this morning between the NRL and the clubs. We've heard from Trent Robinson and also the Melbourne Storm CEO, Dave Donaghy. What are you expecting or what are you hoping to get out of that meeting this morning for your players?
Well, basically just clarity around their thinking. Obviously, the boys will be wondering about their salaries, when and if we can get back to training and or games. And probably they're the two biggest questions for the players. But apart from that, I'm not sure what Hodjo and the other boys have been saying, but I really think they just like to know what the thinking is around the situation of the suspension. And that will be a very, very difficult question to answer, I'd say, Mick.
Yeah, Hodjo was just saying how much you like FaceTime and he was looking forward to watching you.
I spent 5 minutes here with the camera out the backyard.
Oh, Ricky, I saw you on 360 last night, and mate, I enjoy what you said. You were optimistic about the game, and we talked about it this morning. I mean, how many times, Ricky, have you heard, "Oh, mate, the game's stuffed, it's gone," but it just always finds a way?
We'll bounce back, Mick. I keep hearing people say, it'll never get back in the same shape it is. Well, that may be the case in regards to a number of things because of the financial drain it will be on the clubs at this period. But the game is that resilient, and you hear that all the time. But it's shown that it is, and the players are tough, clubs are tough, and that's what makes a product. And we will get back to. Quality of football won't be a problem at all. It's a matter of how the clubs are shaped at the back end of this financial drain on them.
Rick, I've seen firsthand, like everyone, when you went back to Canberra, spoke about, obviously it being the right fit and you heading home after leaving there at Parramatta. I've had an opportunity of seeing the relationships that you've got in the club with people like Don Ferner and your playing group, to be fair. Talk to us about how emotionally draining it has been the last few days and moving forward, where some of the staff are going to have to be let go given the financial situation of the clubs.
It's going to get harder, I think, Mick. Yeah. The last few days have been of the unknown, and the last few days have been just wait and see. We can't answer questions because we don't know. I think the next few days and the coming weeks are going to be the hard days, to be honest, Mick, because I can only talk on behalf of my players. They are a bunch of blokes. And I've said this, so I'm not bringing it up in regards to the situation we're in at the moment. But I've said that they're the closest group of players I've ever been involved in, and they really are. So they're going to need each other now. They're going to need one another in regards to the time they have on their hands, how they have to self-isolate. These times now are going to be very, very different to what anybody has ever faced in regards to this situation we face. But the next week or month is going to be very different and very difficult. And it's something that the players will have to lean on each other now, and they will. It is great being back here, Mick, and you've seen it firsthand now how good a football club we have here. And we will get through this. It's going to be a drain on us financially too. And it's going to hurt, but we will get through this.
Ricky, it's Matty here, mate. And listen, we've got 3 hours to fill. We're just talking around in circles. And there's a lot of rugby league fans watching this. Mate, just quickly on your career. You spoke. Hey, what'd you say, mate?
You should do well at that.
Yeah, that's right. I was hoping for the Olympics to make talking a sport there. Mate, what about in your career? You talk about some of the great Raiders sides, the ones you're associated with. There's one at 89 and 90 and 94. What was the best of those sides you played in? Because, mate, there were some great teams.
Matty, Timmy Sheen said that, and by the way, let's not go too long because I'm standing here with a shoe of phone when I'm shaking and trying to hold this on my
Looks
bullfed.
good. It looks really good.
Hey, Rick, hold it up higher. Oh, no, we've lost him. He's
someone's
pressed
trying to
something.
ring.
He's
Hang
pressed
on,
something. He's back.
Someone's trying to ring me. Hang on. Yep, how's that?
That's better.
We got you.
Mate, just brush Andrew Bishop. Just hit reject, mate.
Matty, Tim Sheen's always said 88 was his best team that he coached here.
Yep.
And we got beaten in the prelims, but that was when Peter Jackson was at the club and we were really rolling. That was my first year at the club. But for me, mate, going into 90 and 94 teams were, when you look at the depth and the position of strengths we had or quality of players we had in those positions, then 1990 we had a real sense of confidence. After the 89 season, we had a great sense of confidence going into the 1990 season, which was a little bit different to the 89 year where it was all new. It was a feel and touch situation where 1990 was a very, very confident football team, and we just had wonderful players. I say it all the time. People will be sick of me saying it, but we're going to be talking about some of those players in that era that is going to go down in history of talented player in that position.
Oh, mate, incredible. I mean, I say to people, the best side I ever played against by a mile with the 94 Raiders. Right. You know it's a tough team when the centres are Meninga and Wiki. And Quentin and Johnny up front, they just beat people up for fun. Yeah. It was
hey, Rick,
horrifying.
what about that? I mean, no, there's no more competitive person. No one hurt more than you after that loss in the grand final last year. And this year, your sides hit the ground running. The fear that this competition, we're hoping that we all get back underway in the coming months. But I spoke to Trent Robinson about it before, just the amount of effort that you see from people in the club to build the roster to what you've got at the moment and the pain you've been through in recent years to get it to where it is now. Are you nervous at all that you may have that taken away from you, the opportunity to compete and win this thing this year?
Well, Mick, you know the answer to that. We've spoken about it, and it really... nobody knows the work behind the scenes and not just from me, from all my staff, from Don, from Pete Mulholland. No one knows the work unless you're doing it yourself at an NRL club, what it takes to build a roster. It is with this salary cap situation at the moment, the way it's structured, it is so hard. And I know the countless hours and the emotional times you have when you're trying to build a roster, and you got to keep telling the fans, which I have for probably the first 3 to 4 years I was here, I'm sorry you don't want to hear this, but you just have to be patient because it's going to take time. Yeah. And that's what it takes. Look, we've got a very, very strong roster, and we've started the season very well. And, we will be. We're very much optimistic about starting this competition again. We will be in there at the back end again because I believe in these players and I know the talented squad that I've got. That does hurt. I've been told for 20 years I can't coach, and you get a squad that goes okay, and it does really give you the shits.
Hey, Stick, what about, mate? I had grave concerns for you, more importantly than anyone, the other day when they closed the pubs and clubs. Where are you going to make your weekly donation now?
Yeah, Kaylee's made a little room out the back for me, mate. She wants to close the house now.
Hey, Rick, you talked about your talented roster, and it undeniably is one of the best in the competition. You do have a lot of internationals, and we've just heard Boris Johnson has absolutely put the UK into lockdown. No one is allowed out of their house unless it's essential. Your players are very isolated away from their family and friends. We know that John Bateman has a daughter, would you be open to the fact if they could go home, would you allow that, or is it just a case-by-case situation, a day-by-day situation?
I'd be open to anything that's going to help the welfare of the player to make him more comfortable. This is not going to go on forever. This is, from an uneducated point of view, this might be 2 months. So, it's not going to be life-threatening, and we've got to understand that we've got to cop it on the chin. We've got to understand there's a lot of other people out there hurting too. It's not just about us football players or coaches or the clubs. Yeah. This is a far bigger issue than just rugby league. And, we had the sensible decision yesterday to look after the players, the people around the players, and also the community in regards to the decision that Peter and Todd had made. So we've got to understand that this is a lot bigger than just us, and that's how we have to face it, and that's how we have to deal with it, because there are far more people out there hurting than what we are, because even the players we have on $80,000 or $90,000 to the other players who are on very, very good money, they are well paid. And those boys are on 80 or 90 or 100,000. They wouldn't be on anywhere near that money if they weren't doing the job they're doing in playing rugby league. So we've got to cop it on the chin and suck it up, and we will. But we'll deal with it with each other, and we'll make sure they're all got their welfare check, and we'll make sure that we lean on each other in these times.
Rick, I know you've got to go. We're minutes away from this 9 a.m. crisis meeting. What do you want to know after this?
Oh, look, just as I say, the clarity around the guys' thinking, and it's going to be very hard to make decisions right now on what type of cuts is going to have to be taken for players and coaches and staffing, etc. There's going to be very hard to know when this competition is going to look like restarting. But I think everybody just wants to understand that we're all on the same page. And for me, if the 16 clubs can all fight this together with the NRL and not go out on its own, I think it's important that we look after each other and we're all one, because that's the best and quickest way we can get back and show that the game is that resilient and we can get back on top of this.
Rick, we couldn't agree with you more. Please take care of your wonderful family, especially your mum and dad, and we will see you in the next days, hopefully with a little bit more clarity about what rugby league looks like for the rest of this year.
I'll have someone else holding this phone next interview.
It looks unreal.
I'm getting seasick.
Thank you, Ricky Stuart.
He's good, isn't he?
It is hard, but you got to. This angle's far better than these.
Tell you what, he was hard. Mate, he was an unbelievable player, Ricky. Goes without saying. You know, for a lot of our younger people watching this, man, he was, I reckon, talking about the best players you ever played against, the most complete. He changed the game, Ricky. Yeah, until when he came in, I reckon he was the first player I've ever seen who could, torpedo pass the ball 30 yards left or right. Yeah. His kicking game was unbelievable. When he put some of those torpedo bombs up, you see the torpedo bombs go up and they sort of take a certain shape. When Ricky, I've never seen a player hit a ball cleaner. When he used to put the torpedo bombs up, it was just like he was spitting about a machine.
Still does it.
It does,
because I was fascinated. That was my era too. Watching that early '90s, mid '90s was. You get down to training, and when he's mucking around, he still nails perfect spirals.
Yeah,
all the time. Yeah, he was unreal.
Yeah, great player.
He's a genuine champion, not just as a player, but as a coach, as a leader, as a father, as a role model within rugby league.
He's a loyal bugger.
He's just incredible.
Looks after his people.
And
he doesn't hold a grudge either, which is good.
I'm staying on the right side.
Oh, mate, we all do in rugby league.
No, looks good, Rick.